Oh, cheers, well met. You made it to part 2 of our solo play series, Are Adventure Games Better Played Solo or in a Group? Now previously, we looked at whether solo role-playing games can still be considered role-playing games. Well, no, not really. They're different. Just not better or worse, just different in the way that we as solo gamers approach the game experience itself. It is more focused on the game and less on the social interactions with other players, which kind of makes sense when you think about it. Now with the social removed, there's more immersion. But does this go for board games as well, especially adventure board games? What are the motivations of a solo gamer to begin with? There could be necessity. It could be hard to get other players together on a regular basis, especially when the game experience contains a campaign over multiple sessions that need to be followed. It could also be that the pacing at which the players at the table play the game is very different. Some players may be more attuned to the nature of adventure board games and thus want to rush through the material to get to the combat encounters or to really get to the meat of the story, whereas other players may be more like, let's just kind of enjoy the scenery, let's build it up, let's play it as a role-playing game, maybe. So there could be different levels of interaction with the game itself. Now, there's also a choice to be made. Do you prefer to focus on the game, or do you prefer to focus on interacting with other players, like we said before? And finally, the adventure games themselves. They are also very immersive. They're usually plotted stories, but is there indeed also an aspect of roleplay involved? That is something that you could explore as a solo player, but maybe not necessarily with other players. So, a solo gamer may have very different reasons for going into an adventure board game than with other players. I myself am a solo gamer by choice. I prefer to play board games in an environment where I can totally get into the state of the gameplay and the world that it tries to build up around me, use my imagination, use my theater of the mind to develop the scenes that are taking place, decorate the table and take as long as it takes to do so in my own time, and enjoy it for as pure moment of an hour or two engaging within that world. Now there are two different types of adventure board games. There are closed settings and open settings. To begin with the first one, closed settings, these are often scenario-driven campaign board games, played faster and more often. You could play whenever you want to these scenarios, and you can play multiple scenarios in a row, but they are usually connected to a larger campaign. And you can cheat with the story branching, the story choices that you make, or go a little bit off the story and do your own thing. You can add to it. You can add the story of your character in ways that grant you full authorship of it, because there is no one around to correct you or to bring you on track with the story of the game within that closed setting. You can have little what-if moments, not just with the story, but also with the rules. You can prioritize the progression of the story over losing in a particular encounter or a particular moment where a skill check is required and would have you lose and maybe restart the scenario or restart the game. That is maybe something that you do not want to do, and you want to continue with the story because you're in the flow, so to speak. So you might actually cheat a little bit with the rules in that moment. And that's perfectly allowable because you're playing solo. Finally, you can take your time to be an audience to the story unfolding. You're not just pushing your character in interactive ways towards the world and towards the particular scenario elements, but you can also just take a step back, hover over your character and over the world, and look at it as a cinematic moment and enjoy it as an audience would a movie, or as you would enjoy a book, and just really relish, for example, foreteller audio narration, and dream away as you listen to the dulcet tones of the foreteller narrator telling the story to you, or you can read it as a book and sit back, enjoy a beverage of choice, and just flip through the pages and read the story. Now there's also the open setting or the sandbox kind of adventure game. And these are more akin to role-playing games where your character has a full autonomy over which direction they want to go, which quests or rumors towards quests they want to undertake. And it adds a sort of peripheral lore to the whole experience and a table presence to the board game that you can decorate yourself. If you wish to explore a forest that is not necessarily part of the story, you can do so. Plant some trees onto your tabletop and start adventuring into that forest. It's all yours to explore. You can stop whenever your character journey feels fulfilled or when you start getting kind of bored and you want to do something else. You can leave it on the table and come back next day or even the next week. I've had many a session where my Descent, Journeys in the Dark, or my role player adventures were just spread out over the table for weeks on end, and I would make a move every 15 minutes a day and just leave it for the next day to pick up again. Now there are certain drawbacks, of course. There is no one to share these epic moments with, and you could wonder, does the story truly exist if there was no one else to experience it but you? Now that is, of course, a very philosophical question. More to the point, there is no one to enjoy it there with you, and that could be a little bit disappointing. There's also, on the other hand, less friction and feedback from other players, and as we find ourselves in a creative moment of emergent storytelling and theater of the mind, diminished incentives to continue pop up as your character evolves into the superhero who is just doing whatever they want to do, and they always kind of succeed at it, especially if you fudge the rules a little bit or fudge the story a little bit. When there's no friction, there's also less incentives to really cheer at those moments when they truly succeed. There are also practical considerations. Multi-handing multiple characters, 2 to 4 characters, can be quite hard. There can also be hidden info that you may not be privy to that other players could take on and read to you. For instance, the crossroad mechanism in a lot of plaid hat games, they have this system where another player reads hidden info to you, and you wouldn't have that, of course, either. Now we've examined a little bit the pros and cons of an adventure board game and whether or not they're better solo. We can make up our own minds whether we find any of these points attractive or more attractive than playing in a group environment. But next time, we're going to go one step further back and just look at the general question: is playing board games in general, regardless of what they are, adventure board games or Euro board games, strategy board games, party games, are they more fun socially with others or solo? Until then, keep exploring. Oh, hi. Hello there. Welcome back. You made it to part 2 of the solo play series. Are adventure board games better than solo? Venturing into that forest, it's all yours. To explore, socially with others or solo.